Welcome back to ExtraTyne on the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. As ever, I'm joined by Laura, and we've been joined again this week by the lovely Sam and the lovely Roger, and we've got absolutely loads to talk about. So I'm not even going to ask you how you are. You can tell us later. We're going to get straight into it. Thumbs up. We're good. So Sunday, last week we talked about it. We were a bit nervous going into it. We hoped we could build on the momentum of the week before the Spurs game, and there was double helpings of apple pie and custard in the Bruce household on Sunday night because we won. We actually won. I can't believe I'm saying this. Like I really didn't think that I would be starting an episode of this season with saying we won, but Decker got to utter his famous line of "we won, you know," because we bloody won. We'll go into the superstitions later on, actually, because we did touch on that last week, and believe it or not, it came good again. But luckily, the negativity to the positivity was in chronological order. So let's start with the negatives. Let's get it out of the way. The first half, Laura, there was a lot going on in the game. There was loads of talking points. Well, the first one, we'll get the Burnley goal out of the way first. I know we touched on it earlier in the group chat. It was awful. Laura, talk us through Burnley's goal.
It was just bad from start to finish. I know I did anyway, and it seemed on Twitter as well, there was a lot of positivity and a bit of confidence about the game in general. And like you say, the first half then just brought it back down to earth with a massive bang because it was just so poor. I mean, when you go in against Burnley, the last thing you want to do, a strong defensive team, tall team, is be just whacking crosses into the box, like left, right and centre with no one that can get on the end of them. And that's what I feel like we seem to do. And we couldn't even cope with their pace. And I feel cheeky saying that because I feel like they're slower than me, the Burnley forwards. But like really, like we just couldn't see. They seemed very dangerous going forward, and like you say, the goal was just so poor. I mean, the Clark header, which started it off, which gave it to them, was so poor as well. He had quite a lot of time and space to pick out a Newcastle player, and you give it straight to them. And then obviously our defenders just went with Wood and just followed Wood down in the box, which left all that space and all that time for, is it Vidra, is that how you say it, to put it in the goal. And it was just very poor decision making, poor positioning, leading to a very preventable goal, I thought.
Yeah, I know, Sam, when we were talking about it before we came on, you said that you'd actually forgotten the goal. I think that's a repressed memory because it was so bad that you just don't want to remember it. Like it kind of just trickled past four players in slow motion, like as it went in. But yeah, it was. Yeah, Sam, go ahead. It was awful.
It was just one of those moments where, you know, when they picked the ball up in midfield, you just saw all the space, and you know, you knew that Shelby was in and around there, and you're thinking, oh my God, you're the person that's supposed to be the first line of defense here, and you know, everyone just started running back, watching the ball, nobody picking up players. And we've been critical about Newcastle defensively so often. We try to do this low block, a term I hate, but it really just means running back towards your goal. There's no tactical or positional awareness. It's like trying to just form a wall that the other team can't score past. And I think a lot of teams are just very wise to it, that we're so rigid and poor. So yeah, I think it was repressed, because when I watched the clip again, it's just really embarrassing. Now, Burnley's defending wasn't very hot on the day either, but that for us is just so familiar. And we play deep, but we're really bad at defending. So preventable, yet I don't think there's going to be any coaching done in order to prevent it. It's a case of, well, we need to score more goals than the other team, because they're always going to score.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a couple of incidents throughout the game. Roger, I'm going to come to you for this one. The penalty that wasn't a penalty, but definitely was a penalty. I know the commentator, once they'd rewatched it and it had been referred to VAR, I know the commentator said if that was anywhere else on the pitch, it's given as a free kick. I mean, did you, when it first happened, did you think it's nailed on, it's a penalty, it has to be?
I didn't, because it happened so quickly, and because that Tarkowski, the way he kicked the ball away, because obviously he would have known that would have been somebody coming in, but he wouldn't have known how close. He was just focused on the ball and kicking the ball away. It was only when you slow it down is when you see like the impact, and like even later on in the game that actually happened where we got a free kick when it was a high ball. But like, I think it's one of those ones where if it's against you, like, so say that's Fernandez against Vidra, then if you get a penalty given against you, like, how is that? You know, it's one of those things where it's a bit of a toss-up. How is that a penalty? You'd be feeling quite upset if you got a penalty against you in that situation. But then when it's your team, you're like, oh, that's a penalty. So I think like you've seen them given and you've seen them not given. So I wasn't like totally aghast at not getting a penalty there, because you just don't get those penalties in the box, even though, like you say, that it is a foul outside the box or anywhere else on the pitch. But I
thought it was like when it went to VAR and it took so long, and I couldn't believe that they were taking so long, because when you watch it back, for me, it was just like he's nearly kicked his head clean off, like
and Longstaff's tall as well. It's not like, and he didn't have to crouch to hit it either. He was hitting it at his actual height. So it was practically doing like the splits, but like the opposite way. Like it was so high. I thought it was nailed on, and I think that's what VAR, and I don't want to get into a VAR debate at all, but that is surely what VAR is for. It's dangerous play. He did kick him in the head. It could have been way worse. Therefore, I feel like it was dangerous play and then nailed on pen, personally.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We ended the first half 1-0, and I think we can probably put that down to Dubravka. He made some of the saves that he made. I know obviously we had Darlow earlier in the season, and there was a big argument about whether or not Dubravka should be put back into the team after how brilliant Darlow was. But I think, Sam, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think for me, that game was exactly why. Some of the saves that he made, the one where, was it Dummett? Which nearly
the kick.
Yeah. Amazing.
Like for him to save that, I think that's him just like putting a stamp down and saying, this is why I'm in the team. Sam, how did you feel about his performance?
I've always been Team Dubravka, and I know there was a lot of debate. I was of the mindset that he should come into the team as soon as he was back from injury, because he's our number one. You know, when he was in form, people were saying he was one of the top 5 keepers in the Premier League. So, even though he came back into the team and he made, a couple of errors, you can put that down to match fitness as well, because we don't really give anyone any matches to get fit to get into the side anymore. I don't know when that stopped. But yeah, unbelievable performance. He's so commanding. He can be a bit cavalier when he comes out for crosses, but he was clearing the lines. His reflexes are fantastic. He's constantly shouting at the defenders around him. And that was kind of the one critique that I had of Darlow, as good as his shot stopping was. I just didn't find him very commanding. And I think our defence needs that, because when you see our defending, like, sometimes it's just absolutely horrendous. So for me, that was a typical Dubravka, I am your number one, and I should probably be at a better team because he's that good. I would say that Dubravka walks into the Spurs first team instead of Lloris, because I just think he's that good.
Yeah, definitely.
I would agree. So we had a brilliant performance by Dubravka, but there was a few other people on the pitch as well. It wasn't just a one-man show. Jacob Murphy, Roger, the build up in the goal, which was down to Alan Saint-Maximin, who we're going to come to later, because it wasn't a one-man show, but it might as well have been. It was a half an hour of absolute
brilliant.
But Jacob Murphy, how happy were you for Jacob? Like, you can just see how much it means to him. How happy were you for him to score that goal, and such an important goal as well?
I think like it's obvious all players are like big confidence, players, but there are some players who can play without confidence who just do the basics. But I think Jacob Murphy, he really needs to feel confident and feel loved and feel like he's given a positive part to the team to like really fulfill his potential, because he seems to have like he's quick, he's got a good touch, he can knock a free kick in, he can knock across him, but unless he's feeling good about where he's at with his playing, like you just don't get all of those elements. And I think he's in a place now. He's had a good run in the team. I don't really think he's a wing back, but that's another debate for another time. But you can just tell, like, as soon as he scored that goal, he was then completely, as instrumental as Alan Saint-Maximin, because he was just really composed. He was knocking little balls around corners. He was controlling it when he needed to. He was, everything seemed to flow for him. And then when obviously the goal that he scored, to get past, I think it was like 5 players in the way, and probably the only place he could have scored is where he put it. He was just it was just really nice to see, because it obviously means a lot to him. And I think he's had a really hard time since he signed for it. He's been away on loan, he's come back, and I think he's in a really good place. And I think Bruce needs to play him, keep playing him, keep giving them a ball, because he's grown in confidence, and he'll probably help us get, hopefully, where we need to get to by the end of the season,
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Really good performance from him.
So brilliant from Jacob Murphy. And then I've actually had to rewatch this. I had to rewatch the second half. If you watched last week, you'll know that in the Spurs game, I missed both of Newcastle's goals. So I sat outside the room for the rest of the game, and we drew. On Sunday, obviously we were 1-0 down at half time. I can't remember who it was. I wish I'd saved the name. Someone tweeted saying, any chance you can go outside and just not watch the second half. And I was like, oh, should I give it a go? And I did, and we won. So this is me apologising for watching all the other games, because I feel like
yeah.
And this is me saying you're welcome for sacrificing.
Yeah, it's on your toes. This whole season up to this point is on your toes. That's it.
I honestly feel like this is all my fault. So I had to actually rewatch. Thankfully, Sky actually, it's pretty much the whole, I think it was the whole game actually, or near enough the whole game. You can rewatch the whole game. So I've done that. Watch the second half. Alan Saint-Maximin. Laura, I know me and you especially, I wouldn't say we're not critics of him, but we can see that sometimes he kind of spits the dummy out. There was absolutely none of this on Sunday. It was 35 or so minutes of just pure genius. Laura, how nice was it to watch that kind of football in a Newcastle shirt?
Oh, it was just so satisfying. Like when Bruce brought the subs on at 57 minutes, I couldn't believe it. I was like, it's not 80, it's not 90. Like he's bringing them on with time that they can have an impact on the game, and couldn't have had a quicker impact, to be honest, because I mean, Burnley just could not handle him at all. It was just great link-up play with Murphy for Murphy's first goal, and then the second goal was just a pretty much, Shelby's ball was good to him, but we don't like giving Shelby too much credit. So it was after the Shelby ball, it was just a one-man show, wasn't it? And just brilliant skill. Burnley just backed off, and then it was I loved his comment about scoring with his left foot, and it was just a great finish. I was really impressed, and it's going to pain us to say it, but I have wrote down that I do owe a slight apology for what I said last week about I'd rather have a Richie on my team
we're both
than a Maximum, and I hold my hands up. And however, I do hate being wrong, so I'm just going to balance it out and say it was Burnley. He likes playing against the teams that he can play against. He does need to then now continue that against the bigger teams like West Ham, Man City, all the ones that we've got coming up. He then needs to take this skill and this attitude that he had into those games where the teams aren't going to let him play. They're not going to let him switch feet. They're not going to they're going to have a plan and they're going to stop him playing. So I hope, I can't do the Bruce Hope, Roger, sorry. I hope that he continues that and he takes that into the next game. So I am sorry, but then continue next time.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll forgive you.
Yeah, I'm sure he will as well.
He's a big watcher. He's a watcher of ExtraTyne. I know this already.
He'll be in the comments now, is he? Sam, am I right in thinking you switched off at half-time also?
I did. So it wasn't the last Newcastle match that I switched off, but whenever Fulham went 1-0 up against, I can't remember who they were playing, I took the dog out for a walk because I was having palpitations that we were in the bottom three. And as I was on my walk, I was getting...
Last week? Is that last week? Yeah, last Friday.
Yeah, I think, the week before. And I was getting text messages and stuff saying that it was okay, Fulham weren't winning anymore. And I was like, right, okay. So the performance on Sunday was so dire that I was like, I just tweeted, I'm not watching anymore. You can thank me later for the 2-1 win that's going to be incoming. And I turned the match off. Then my brother sent me a message, lol. And I was like, what's happening? Then I started getting audios through from a couple of the guys that follow. Were telling me you need to turn the TV on. You need to see what happens. So I turned it on, watched the goal, turned it back off again. And then went on the second goal, turned the TV on, watched the goal, turned it back off again. And then was on tender hooks for the rest of the match. So yeah, same thing, turned it off. But whenever I tweet it, say that watch the 2-1 incoming, I put a bet on it. So I won money.
If you and Jess could just synchronize.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
I know.
Well, maybe if the pair of you go for a dog walk,
yeah.
romp the season, we'll qualify for the Intertoto Cup and we'll win it.
Well, winning.
I don't have a dog, but if anyone wants to lend us their dog for 90 minutes on Saturday,
borrow a dog.
Upstairs dog, just take.
Oh yeah,
it sounds like it needs a walk.
Yeah.
The upstairs dog was barking just before we came on, and everyone could hear it. And I was a little bit paranoid that Nell was going to upstage us, but she shut up just in time. So we've talked about the game, and obviously I think the standout from the game was Alan Saint-Maximin's impact. So we thought this week, because he kind of came on and basically single-handedly changed the game. He set up Murphy's goal, he scored his own goal. It was basically a masterclass. So we thought this week what we're going to talk about is, and we've put it out to Twitter as always, and as always the response has been amazing. We want to talk about games when a single player has impacted and changed the game, whether they've started the game, whether they've come on as a sub. Some of the replies weren't to do with Newcastle, so we'll just hide them in anyway. Some of the replies were to do with Newcastle, but not in a good way. We'll hide them in as well. Why not? Roger, I'm going to come to you first. Well, I'll come to you, and then we'll talk about the ones that are on Twitter. Roger, I'll come to you first. What memorable performances stand out for you?
It wouldn't be right if I wasn't obscure, so I'm just going to go for my obscure one. So Stephen Glass, Bobby Robson, substitution, Derby County, we're getting beat, and he brings on, I think it was Cordoni, randomly, and Stephen Glass, and Stephen Glass scored it. He set up sort of through a deflection, but it was hell. It was as much of an assist as John Joe Shelby's was against Burnley.
Yeah.
I just want to say before we get onto this properly, that was not an assist.
No.
That was a forward pass.
It was a it was a forward pass. It's being given as an assist on all the stats and that. But I'm gonna write to my local MP. I'm gonna write to Ian Mearns. And he's gonna contact the stats people. The stats people are gonna withdraw the assist, so that now Shelby's on to 2 assists all season and not 3. Anyway, so yes, Stephen Glass, not my serious one. Aspria against Middlesbrough is my serious one.
Mm-hmm.
Signed hours before the game properly. He was in Parma in Italy in the morning. By the afternoon, he's having a glass of red wine with the team. not really thinking he's going to score. I think I went to a talk-in with John Beresford, and he was telling the story about before the game. And like, he said, like, Tino's on this table, just like having a glass of red wine, just absolutely living his best life before that was a thing. And then he's on the bench, he's got his Diodoras on, and then he comes on with like 23 minutes to go. I think we're 1-0 down. And he absolutely turns Steve Vickers like a school jumper, like absolutely inside out. Knocks in a cross, and then Steve Watson, who was cameoing at centre forward, scored a header. And then I think Ferdinand got the winner through like a proper little trickly, it bumped through the Middlesbrough keeper. But the chaos that Asprilla caused for like 23 minutes was like absolutely incredible.
Is that photo of him when it's snowing and he's in that massive fur coat?
Well, that was when he signed. So that was when he signed. But then, it was February. So it was like, but if you watch the video, he comes off the bus and he's like the coolest man on the planet. He like comes out, he meets his interpreter, and he's having a bit crack with her. And then he's like chewing his chewing gum, like not a care in the world. All the Middlesbrough fans are booing him, and he's just not bothered. I remember he's sitting on the bench, like behind Keegan, just like. And then Keegan he's worse than Bruce in this instance. Keegan just like pats him on the arse and sends him on. No instructions, nothing. Because you're right. He just didn't. And I think those types of players are a rarity.
You don't get them like that anymore, do you?
No, like just a total free spirit. So that was just absolutely classic. And John Beresford scored an own goal in that game as well, which was painful. but yeah.
Sam, I'll come to you. Have you got any memorable performances which you think changed the game?
Yeah, so my first would have been Asprilla, just because, I mean, I couldn't have described it any better. It was just one of those moments you'll never forget, because he's just was so random. The big entrance, the snow, the pictures, then the fact that it comes on, no training, changes the game. But the one that I will go for is from May 2015, Newcastle playing West Ham, needed the win to stay up. So I'm going to say Jonas Gutierrez, because, I mean, the guy, unbelievable, you know.
I love the way you say that name. Say it again.
Jonas Gutierrez.
I love it.
Is this an 18 plus podcast? Just say it really slowly, Sam. Just really slowly.
No. Yeah, so I mean, what a performance. He'd been treated appallingly. We were, in dire straits. We were 1-0 up. There was still that chance that West Ham could have, put the nail in the coffin for us. And he just smacked the ball from outside the box, takes the shirt off. You see the tattoo, from the cancer. It was just that moment. I'll never forget it. I burst out crying because the emotion, the person, as I said, they'd been treated so badly by the club, and more of that come out as it went on. So that's my standout moment, because that guy was just unbelievable. Maybe he wasn't the best footballer. He was a great winger, and then he just kept getting moved around. But he was just that person in the team that you wanted to be there. So that's the moment for me.
It was so like even like without all the shit that he was put through and like the horrible things were happening to him personally, like I think he was just so likable anyway, wasn't he? Like I know we've talked about him so many times, and I know when the lads had Ryan Taylor on a few weeks ago, they told stories about him then. But like there was like the video when I think he was with Argentina, and I don't know if he's on a bus or a plane or something.
Oh, and he's banging the thing.
Like, banging and singing, like he just seems like such a nice, fun person, and like you just always willed him to do well, didn't you? He was just.
You'd love to go on holiday with him, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, imagine being in Ibiza with Jonas Gutierrez.
Yes,
like, that would be
person. Absolutely.
Absolute heaven.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He is brilliant, and we love him. We all love him at Gallowgateshots. He's wonderful. Laura, have you got any before we go to the?
I've only got one, and I wouldn't even say it's like a standout performance or anything, but it was without even Googling it, anything. It was the one thing that popped into my head was when we were 1-0 down against Spurs, and Pardew brought Sammy Amiobi on, and he scored.
Yes, I thought about that one.
Yeah, he scored within
the green and blue shirt.
Yeah, and he's
half.
Yeah, I think it's the fastest sub goal or something like that. Because then after I thought of it, I googled it and I watched it again, and it's like instant from kickoff. It's just a long ball to him, and then he just passed Luis, and it was class. And and that's the only one that popped into my head. So that's the only one I've got.
Leicester, when we beat Leicester 4-3 with Shearer getting a hat trick, that was incredible.
Yeah, I mentioned that one
because like Heskey was absolutely on fire and absolutely tore us a new one, and then I think it was like deep into 70 minutes. Like it was really late on, and like probably most of those goals would have been disallowed now because of VAR. Because I'm sure he was offside for the last one.
Oh, I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just. I mean, we'd been crap for the whole game, and then it's like one of their moments where he just like Shearer was just. He was. Oh man, that was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. That was a good one. I think a few people, I saw that on Twitter, a few people had said that game. It was absolutely incredible.
We did, as always, we did get a really good response to the tweet. I'm just going to read them in order that they're on my replies. So the first reply that we got was from Bestie from the All the Smiling Faces podcast. Nothing to do with Newcastle whatsoever, but we'll mention it anyway. Beckham against Greece in 2001 got us to the World Cup pretty much single-handedly. And then a big conversation between Bestie and Corby ended up going on. And then the next reply we had was from Alex, from who you will know from True Faith and from the Supporters Trust, who I'll quickly give them a little plug here. They launched the Pledge 1892 last week. Check it out. I think there's over £50,000 being pledged so far. I'm sure we've all set up direct debits or we've made a one-off donation or what have you. But if you've not heard about it, check it out on the Newcastle United Supporters Trust. It's an incredible initiative, and in my eyes, it's a win-win because we either get something out of it to do with the club or the money goes to local charities. So it's definitely worth taking a look for. So Alex from the Supporters Trust, he said, it's probably not what you're looking for, but Riviere managed to change a few games when Newcastle were playing, just not in our which we were looking for positives, but it wouldn't be ExtraTyne if there wasn't negativity. Yeah. So there you go. There it is.
Amdify changed a few games as well.
Daryl from the channel, he said Tino at Borough away in 1996. I think we're probably going to have 50 odd people saying that one. And he also said Papa Cisse on his debut.
Yes.
Which we mentioned when we talked about debuts, didn't we? Where we did a show about debuts a few weeks ago, and Papa Cisse brought up loads.
Do you remember he was warming up behind the goal? Because that's what they do in Germany.
Oh no.
So when he came out, so Pardew sent him out to warm up, and in Germany they warm up behind the goal, or like to on the byline. Mm-hmm. So like he'd ran along the pitch, went up, and he was running between the goal and the corner line.
Was it at home?
Yeah, in the Elisa's end.
Oh, all right.
And there was like so he had to send another sub out.
Go and tell him.
What the fuck are you doing? Oh yeah. It's like, you're not in Germany now, young lad. You know? So funny. So funny. It's like even the fans like in the paddock in the Lisas were like waving him back.
He's like, you would have been gutted. You would have thought they were all telling him to go away.
We've just had a comment in there. I've just popped it on the screen. 94-95 season against Blackburn Rovers, Shiva scored 1 or 2 goals to win the game. I don't remember that because I was 1, so I can't really. I can't.
The benefit of youth.
I can't help you with that one. Back to the ones on Twitter. We've got. I still haven't asked you how to pronounce your name. Shivas, whatever you're called. Shearer versus Leicester 97, 3-1 down, and he gets a hat trick. And if you want to be funny, Michael Chopra against the Mackhams scores seconds after coming on to make it 1-1, and then we completely destroy them. You know what? I didn't even think about that. I mean, yeah. I know, like his impact wasn't to come on and single-handedly change the game, but I suppose he literally
he started it. Didn't he?
Yeah, he caused the thing which would eventually lead us to. So yeah, I guess that's a good one, and it is also very funny. We've got another one for Jonas from David Munro, that Jonas against West Ham. The commentary was perfect when it said, "The man who knows the true meaning of survival," which I think is absolutely. Yeah. We've got Ryan Bell, Kieran Dyer versus Leeds on multiple occasions, but particularly the 3-0 at Elland Road in 2003. Can anyone remember that game?
I think he'd been linked with signing for Leeds, because I was thinking about the game where we beat them 4-3 and Solano scored the winner and did his bit trumpet and that. But that must have been the season. I think that was like 2001-2, and he did always have a good game against Leeds. It was absolutely incredible. Him and Bellamy. If there was a duo, if it was for a podcast for duo performances, then it would be him.
We'll do that next time. Double acts. We've got another one I've just popped on the screen there from Tom Lynch. Mark Stinson, when he scored an own goal away to Oxford, lost us the game. We've got another one. Chris says Meat Row against Norwich.
Yeah.
Sam, you're next on my replies, so I'm going to come to you for this one. When you said about your brother.
Yeah.
I'll let you tell the story.
So I like to send things to my brother, especially if I'm on this show, because it's usually something funny. So I said to him and I said, can you think of anything? Even other teams, just generally, I didn't expect him to say anything about Newcastle. However, in lightning speed for my brother responding to anything that I ever sent to him, and if he's watching this, I'm still not speaking to you. He came back with Graham Fenton coming off the bench in 1996 when we played Blackburn. And I forgive Alan Shearer for setting up both the goals, but he came on and, local lad scored 2 goals against us. The wheels were well and truly coming off us in terms of that being our title winning season. So that's what he came back with in lightning speed, as in, a performance to remember. And I was devastated. So I shared it.
We're not speaking to you either. None of us are.
No.
Yeah.
We're all in the mood with you too, Sam's brother. We had one from the main event pod who said, Sissoko's debut versus Chelsea always stands out to me. Yeah. I thought he was the new Vieira, and then a face palm emoji. So it clearly wasn't the new Vieira. Yeah. We've got one from Mickey Egg who said, Hatton Ben Arfa, when we beat Stoke 5-1 a few years back, he'd done almost everything, created goals, helped the defence, got us up the pitch, hit the post, but just couldn't score. But I suppose he still, because he, like he did everything, so he still changed the game. Evan Quick said, Ginola versus Middlesbrough at St James's Park in 1995.
Yes, Cox, what's his name? Neil Cox was playing fullback.
Literally says he read him more than once.
Oh, he absolutely done him, pulled his pants down 3 or 4 times. It was like absolutely incredible. What a game that was. Really good. But Ginola did that
to anyone.
Yeah.
He could take my pants down if he wanted.
You're determined to make this an podcast.
If he's watching the pod, then David,
this mix ExtraTyne after dark
is there
later on. Evan, Evan said the Ginola one. He also said David Kelly versus Leicester at St James's Park in 1993. It still hurts him that we sold him.
Yeah.
John Cunningham said by a player. So this is quite a good one because he's got two different ones. He says by a player, Shearer versus Leicester in 97, which we've already touched on, and he said by a man, 8-0 versus Sheffield Wednesday, meaning Sir Bobby Robson because he breathed.
Yeah, I like that.
It wasn't necessarily a player who changed the game, but a man who changed the game and then I would say went on to change the club as well. We've got another one from Callum who also said Jonas against West Ham. The Mike Falker said that in the 2009-2010 season in the Championship, Kevin Nolan, but on several occasions.
Actually, now you mentioned that Championship season, Fabry's pancake against Watford completely changed the game. Like swivel, smash, post, in.
How good is your memory, man? How do you just remember stuff like that?
Absolute game changer. Like, honestly, you YouTube kids, check it out. Pancake.
Is that his real name?
Fabrice Pancras.
Pancras.
Who then, I think he went from us to like Al Habisi, or like he went into playing Dubai, live his best life, so fair play to him.
Yeah.
We've got Gary Cumpson, my dad, he's also said Chopra against the Mackhams, ran on as a sub, scored Shearer's last game, which that's one that I actually do remember. I wasn't there, but it's one that I actually do.
I remember that one.
Can you remember Chopra at St James's for Sunderland when Roy Keane was the manager? And I think it was ones each, and he was like through on goal. And it was like 52,000 fans, like probably everybody had the same shared thought of like, oh my God, like
gonna be him from Dunstan.
And him as well, yeah.
He squared it, but it was like it was the worst pass. I think it was to
it was deliberate,
Cameron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
It was like any like total self-sabotage. So I'll always be.
Do you think it was deliberate, or do you think it was the crowd put him off?
I think he's like
he bottled it.
The devil, like the devil and the angel on his shoulders.
In that split second, he just couldn't cope.
Yeah, I remember like when that happened, I was like, yeah,
celebrating like a goal.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Couldn't happen to a nicer bloke. Alan Ball said Tim Krul away to Spurs in 2013, an outstanding string of saves. We've got Rob McGregor who said Tino against Borough, but he also said Tino versus Barcelona.
Yeah.
And Mets as well, isn't it?
And
I think as well, like Keith Gillespie in that game against Barcelona. Like, although it wasn't a comeback or it wasn't but like that Sergi was the fullback for Barcelona, was like probably one of the best fullbacks in the world.
Class, yeah.
And he absolutely rinsed him for like 90 minutes. Like he must have come off the pitch thinking like,
what just happened?
What just happened? Like, unbelievable.
Following on from Chopra, Chris has said Kabai's return to St James's Park with Palace.
Yes.
He missed.
Did Darlow save a pen?
He missed a penalty.
That was a clash of two really handsome men. And Darlow won out.
Darlow won.
Yeah.
I think he missed that on purpose. He did a chopper, I think. Yeah. We've got a couple here from Brian Wilson against Everton this season. Ben Arthur against Bolton 2011-2012. Krul against Spurs again, and one which hasn't been mentioned, I don't think, Bellamy against Feyenoord in 2002-2003.
Yes.
I don't think anyone mentioned that.
Yeah, that was he was so angry. So angry.
Roger, I think we might have talked about it before when we've talked about Bellamy before, saying he was just a little angry. He was a very angry man.
There was actually a game we played against Man City, and it was a bit of a topsy-turvy game. I'm sure that's maybe the game we talked about, and it was like it was the Souness era where it really wasn't worth going to the game unless you were just watching Bellamy, because he was either swearing at Souness or doing amazing stuff. And like, I think like Bernard scored, I think Fowler scored, like it was like proper topsy-turvy. And by the end of the game, I think Bellamy scored and like to make it 4-3, and like he totally turned the game on its head. It was like heading for a draw. So like Bellamy, and I think it's those explosive players like Ginola, like Aspria, Bellamy. You know, like you need, like apart from Shearer, who was just like, he's ethereal. Like it's those players that have got explosive qualities that can change those games. You're not going to get like Warren Barton, although I love him because I love his Barton. Like those players aren't going to, like Bears isn't going to change a game, but like those quick, fast, really big impact players, like, and it's quite nice. It's quite nice to look back at them and think how good these
we've had so many responses. I'm just going to end with one here from Chris Lejeune.
Yeah,
that has
great show.
Of course.
I'm really surprised no one said that. We had so many replies and I haven't actually managed to get through them all, so I'm really, really sorry if I haven't read yours out. But we've still got a few more things to talk about, so we're going to have to push on. But I thought we'll end on the Lejeune Everton one because it was last season, wasn't it? It seems like ages.
And it was an absolute dog turd of a game and all.
It was, but we'll end on that one. You might have seen the story broke last night. We're gonna just really briefly talk about this because we kind of have to, because it's everywhere today, and I think we'd just be being ignorant if we didn't touch on it. It broke last night that Mike Ashley has decided to close the club shop. That's the only one left. Obviously, we used to have them in town. There was ones in Eldon Square. There was Monument Mall. But now the club shop's at the ground, and Mike Ashley's decided to close that. And all the staff have been made redundant. First of all, I just want to say my heart goes out to all the staff because it's disgraceful. It's absolutely awful what's happened. I know quite a lot of them have been there for literal years, and it's just awful. So I want to first of all say that my heart goes out to you if you have been made redundant. I'm so sorry. It's awful. But secondly, apparently this is a condition of the Saudi takeover. So as you can imagine, I've got it muted, thank God, because I don't want to know anything about it. I'm sick to death of hearing about it. So I've not actually seen too much, but I am aware that it's been all over Twitter today. So we are going to just quickly touch on it. Apparently, shutting the club shop and making them redundant is a condition of the Saudi takeover. And then all this stuff came out today about how close the government thought the deal was. Apparently, in June last year, the takeover deal was like merely hours away, and it somehow fell through. I'm not going to lie, I've not actually read about it because I can't be bothered. I've got very little interest in it.
Too many false dawns in it.
But yeah, because the fact is, no one knows. I know there's the arbitration things going on at the minute. No one knows what stage that's in. No one knows anything. So it's wrong to speculate. But I am just going to quickly come around and ask what your thoughts are. Laura, I'll come to you first. Do you think that there's anything? Do you think that there's anything still going on behind the scenes, or
no?
How do you feel about this?
First of all, I'm not even going to try and pretend that I understand. I did read Hope's article, but again, I think it's little quotes and things that lead Newcastle Twitter to a complete and utter meltdown. And I wish I might probably mute it as well, just because it just annoys the shit out of us. And it's just so, I'm bored of it. Yeah. Last year got me hopes up, totally, really did. Really, we all thought that it was definitely going to happen, but it didn't. And I feel like Ashley, with the club thing, the shop, is simply just washing his hands of one of his businesses, giving it back to the club. From what I've read, that's what it looks to be. He's giving it back in Newcastle's hands. And he's a gutless, heartless man who is just mentioning these new owners in the letter or whatever he did is a distraction. I don't believe anything he says, and I don't believe, because it was like something like, oh well, the new owners don't want it or something ridiculous. It's like, oh bullshit, why would that even be mentioned? Like, surely there's bigger stuff to talk about than, oh, by the way, that club shop don't want that. Like, just right.
Totally agree. Well, I know you've just said Mike Ashley's gutless and heartless. I actually used to work for Sports Direct when I first,
boo, you're part of the boo, you're part of the problem, boo.
I used to work in Van Mildert, which was owned by Sports Direct in Durham, and I know Laura's just said he's gutless and heartless. I've had a few jobs. I've never ever worked in. We didn't have running water in the shop, so we had to have a water fountain. We didn't have a toilet. I'm not exaggerating. We had to cross over the street and go to the toilet upstairs above Subway because we didn't have a toilet. And there was
that allowed though? Like, really?
Well, no. There was no.
How does he get away with it?
You tell me.
Because he's Mike Ashley.
That's right. There was no running water. We were all on 0-hour contracts. There was no running water. So I'll tell you how he got away with the running water thing. He got a water, like a big water cooler, like the big plastic. So that was the running water. So yeah, gutless, heartless. He's a scumbag. So there you go.
That's so kind now.
It's just awful, and honestly, my heart breaks.
She's just really misunderstood, Like,
I did think that when he was buying his drinks in Blue Bamboo that time, but no, I changed my opinion.
And he never texts you back, did he?
No.
You know what I mean? He's proper
just in case anyone doesn't know, he bought the whole club drinks, not just me.
Are you sure?
No, I didn't even say him, it just came over the DJ.
Basically, what happened? Laura went on a date with Mike Ashley. That's what happened.
So. And I think I was like, nah, no.
I think we should ask a lot of Newcastle fans to upload their pictures of them with Mike Ashley on away days, and just like have a, like, I remember being I think I was at Arsenal or somewhere like that, and my cousin Ollie has got I've got a picture of him with Mike Ashley, like, like as if he was the savior. So I think Gallowgateshots should do upload your sins of pictures of you with Mike Ashley, because everybody's got a skeleton in the closet, and we all thought Mike Ashley was going to change our lives. And
we did. I mean,
he did.
Yeah, but just not for the
terrible way.
Sam, do you think there's anything? Do you think there's anything still going on with this takeover, or do you think when they pulled out last summer, and when I personally started thinking, well, it's dead and buried, do you think that that's when it was over, or do you think there's still something there going on behind the scenes?
I 100% think that the takeover is still going on.
With Saudis?
Yes, Sam.
Oh,
I do. I don't think that the store has anything to do with it. I think it's just Mike pulling everything back. There's the links with the new potential makers of the shirt. I think Castor.
I can understand that.
What I found really interesting was, usually if somebody is taking something over, you get, and it was mentioned in the article about toupee, which means that you give
sorry.
You give the employees the chance to go and work for the new company, but I feel like that's been taken off the table because they don't have an amount of time that it'll take for new employment to start, and I think that's why they're cutting the links for the employment, because usually it's not like that. But in terms of the takeover, I've said it all along. I don't say it on Twitter because you just you don't want to go down that path. Yeah. But I honestly do feel like there's a lot going on in the background. And every time Mike Ashley puts out one of these really dramatic releases or letters, it's trying to get a wee bit more publicity behind it. So he does everything for a reason, and he has, if you kind of timeline everything that's happened, you know, he waits until it seems like there's nothing happening and he does a little shot to remind people. And this is another one of those. So, you know, again, I'm not going to shout about it, but I absolutely believe that it's still in the background.
Yeah. Roger, how do you feel about it? I'm kind of, I think I'm now of the mindset that don't believe anything. And I've also been watching loads of Line of Duty. Chris, I'm sorry for mentioning it. So I'm now, I don't trust anyone, not just in Line of Duty and not just in football, just in real life. I don't trust anyone. Roger, how do you feel? Do you think that there's still something going on behind the scenes, or do you think it's dead and buried?
I think our in-between man is H. Whoever H is like...
Someone said earlier on Twitter it was Lee Charnley.
Yeah. Well, Lee Charnley, to be fair, between
I was like, at least he has a job.
He's got a lot of time on his hands to like mess with a bit of Line of Duty, sack everybody at Sports Direct in Newcastle. Like, those are his two main thingies. But I think, I think it's, you know, that shop's been closed for however many months since lockdowns and thingies. I just think it makes financial sense for Mike Ashley to close that shop. Like, unfortunately, like, you know, because he's not going to consider the people who work there because he doesn't really care about them. And it's, you know, but I do think there's something, you know, there's obviously an interest from the Saudis or some group of people. And I think that's still there. I think this arbitration thing about wanting different solicitors or whoever it is like, but I think it'll be like when Mike Ashley took us over, it'll just happen. Like, absolutely nobody knows what the fudge is going on. So I think we just got to wait. But I am quite excited to see Castori's Newcastle strip. I think they're going to go quite old school. I wouldn't be surprised to see a granddad collar.
Which I'm a big fan of.
Yes. Sam. I think it's happening, I'm telling you.
Am I right in thinking that they are Rangers?
Yeah.
They make Rangers.
Yeah.
But then the Rangers fans complained that the quality wasn't great. So on the fence.
Mike Ashley all over. But so there none of us know if the takeover's going on. No one knows if the takeover's still on. But that's our opinions. I
think Mike Ashley, he is a willing seller. Like,
I think definitely once.
He definitely wants. Like, I think we've been as close. We're as close to us being sold as we've ever been in. I mean, what, he started selling us after 2 years?
Not even.
So
he won the best within a year.
Yeah. So, but the idea, I think, when he bought us. Well, I know this anyway. Well, I say I know this. I have an inside source. When he bought us, trying to turn a quick profit. It was a year, and that was what he was wanting to do because he saw an opportunity. He jumped in 2 feet, realised, oh, fuck, they've got loads of debt.
Yeah.
And so, at the end of the day, he's a businessman, isn't he? And he doesn't give a shit about what happens to the club. All he cares about is his business and himself and his money. So I think whatever happens, whether that's him staying on or him selling or whatever, I think whatever happens is going to be in his best interest rather than ours. But it's just one of those things that no one knows what stage it's at. No one knows who's involved. It's just one of those things that we're just going to have to bide our time and see what happens. But I do recommend muting the hashtag NUFC.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
It just cleanses your timeline. It's lovely. So let's talk about a week ahead. We are the early kickoff on Saturday. It hasn't been moved. I know a few games on Saturday have been. We haven't been moved. 12:30, St James's Park. We face West Ham. If you ask Steve Bruce, he would tell you that both of these teams are going into this game on back-to-back wins.
No, 3 wins in a row.
Well,
3 wins because he thought we'd beat Spurs.
Yeah, so he thinks that everyone's going into this game off on the back of back-to-back wins. I don't know where he's got that from, but yes, can we continue to build on the momentum of the last couple of games, because the Spurs game, we showed so much fight and there was passion. First half of the Burnley game, we looked like a completely different team. Second half, we looked like a completely different team again. Laura, do you think we can continue to build on the momentum, or is it going to be another complete roller coaster of emotions and the game?
I don't know, and I know that's not ideal. But and I've got a reason why I don't know. I feel like I'm in offline of duty. I don't know, and I don't know why I don't know, but I just don't know. But no, I do have a reason, because off the back of the Spurs confidence booster, we won that game. You know, we didn't draw it, so we won the Spurs game. And then first half against Burnley, a team who we all were confident and that we all thought we'd win. It was shit. So I don't know. I hope that we do build on the second half of Burnley. However, it's West Ham. We beat them first game of the season. Are we going to do the double against fourth place in the league? It would be a very Newcastle thing to do, but
I think
I just hope we can. And sorry, that was like 4 hopes.
Hope?
I know. But that's all we've got at the minute, is just hoping and wishing and praying and not even knowing which Newcastle team's gonna show up. But it is a massive booster. But is Maximum Wilson gonna start? Probably not. So again, it's gonna hope that I said it again.
Let's start counting on my hands.
Right.
We're gonna wish.
Give us synonyms for hope, please.
To be fair, hope is all we've got.
It is all we've got. Wish, and I just wish that it's that he doesn't have to bring them on when we're like 3-0 down. I hope.
Yeah. I mean, to have them, I hope. I did feel. I know, obviously, we went 1-0 down against Burnley, but I felt having them in the lock. I like having them on the bench ready to bring out, whether that was to tie the game up because we'd gone ahead, or whether that was to make the impact like they did and change the game. I did feel more confident. Sam, do you feel more confident about not just the game, but about survival now that Wilson and Maxi are ready to return?
Yeah, I think we probably need 4 points. You know, this Barcelona resurgence that we thought Fulham were going to have hasn't quite panned out. I feel like they're feeling the pressure. So we just need to focus on ourselves. A couple more results will do that. First and foremost, I will not be watching the game this weekend because I know.
I changed it. We're going to win.
Got the car booked in to get a service, and I didn't realise what time it was. So yeah, I'm not going to see it. My thoughts behind the game are that, you know, I tweeted about West Ham at the weekend. They got a wee bit of shit back for it because I was like, West Ham are going to batter us, mind, because at that point, you know, they were so good. But it was in an in the moment tweet. People were like, "Oh, you're so negative." It's like,
oh god,
yeah.
You've been watching United all season. Of course, you're going to be negative.
We win a game. I mean, it's
like you can't even have an opinion now without being negative. Like, my feeling is Newcastle are so unpredictable. You don't actually know which Newcastle's going to turn up. That's not being negative. West Ham are a really decent team. Lingard really scares us. Therefore, I do think that, yes, there's a massive chance that they are going to batter us. That's not being negative. It's a fact. Oh, that made us angry, Sam. Sorry.
I'm going to start adding you into these. So be like, Laura, go. So based on the way that we perform, West Ham are a first half team. Out of the blocks fast. I think they'll score. We seem to like to wait a little while, you know, really wait until the anxiety is set in and people have bitten off all their fingernails, and then we have a go. So I think it'll be a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Roger, I'm going to get a score prediction from you as well. What do you think? Bear in mind that I'm going out on Saturday afternoon, so I will be getting ready. So I'll be in the other room. I will not be watching.
Sam's
they're not watching.
Car's getting serviced.
Yeah.
You're going out. Laura, what are you doing?
I'm watching it, but I've watched all of them.
6-0 win. Guaranteed.
No, I think West Ham are a funny one, like, because if you spoke to any West Ham fan, they would probably say, "Oh, we'll fuck it up against you." You know, like, I think they're like us, where
Yeah,
they'll
they're
be on a
waiting
great
for
run,
something
and
bad.
then all of a sudden, like, a speed bump will come along, and they'll just totally thing it up. Like, obviously, Lingard's on great form. That Soychek,
Yeah.
the centre midfielder. So I think, Sam, like, if we take a draw against them, it's all about what's the word? The accumulation of points. I think that's just a phrase that I've just made up.
I've never heard it before.
No, well, the thing is, Laura, you see, football. It's a funny old game. And it's about your accumulation of points over a season.
Oh, right, okay. Is that what you play? Do you play games for points?
Yeah, it's not about having a plan or a situation or
tactics or
picking your best players. It's
ambition. No.
Accumulation.
Right.
So,
okay.
No, I think like, obviously, you know, West Ham are going for the Champions League. They're in a really good place. So I think if you get a draw against them, but Lou, somebody did comment, Andy Carroll.
Yeah, I forgot about that as well.
Yeah.
You know, ex-player against his old team.
I don't think he'll play him. No, I don't.
No.
So I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle.
Oh,
lads!
That would be absolutely wonderful. Laura, I don't think I got a score prediction off you, so I'll quickly.
I'll go 1-1, only on a superstitious level.
You've took the words out of my mouth, because I was going to say exactly the same thing. We've had a few predictions there that have popped on the screen. Sorry if you're listening to this on audio and you haven't seen them. But yes, I'm also going to say 1-1, because I'm going to sit in the other room while it's on, and Sam's got a car in for a service, so you can thank us if it does come in. And
look at how positive we are.
So
after one win,
definitely not a defeat.
I know, one win, and this is what happened. But yes, we'll be back next week to see if we can build on the momentum. I hope we do. We'll hope that we do. Thank you so much to our guest to speak. We've talked for a lot longer than we had planned to. I did say we had a lot to get through. I didn't think it would take so long. So thank you so much for sticking with us if you have been watching. Thank you to the guests this week. You have both been absolutely brilliant. It's a pleasure to have you as always. To me, wonderful co-host Laura, it's always amazing to have you by my side. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Gallowgateshots YouTube channel. There's things underneath this video if you want to become a member and help fund some very, very exciting things that we've got coming up. I'm not going to say anything more than that, but it's a bloody yeah. Oh, indeed. So if you want to help us on our way with that, sign up somewhere down there and you become a member. You'll get extra content, you get bonus things.
Like on X Factor.
And if you listen on audio, that won't work, so you can't see what's below.
Man. I was putting me guys, if you're on audio,
go onto the YouTube channel and see what's below, and then you'll know what we're on about. But yes, you get early access to things, you get extra little bits for being a member, and we do really appreciate it, because it does really, really help us. But yes, thank you all so much for watching. We've talked at you for over an hour, so I'm just going to shut up and leave it there. Let's hope we'll win again on Saturday. I promise I'm not going to watch. I'm going to sit outside. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week, hopefully, to talk about another win. See you later.